What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the video. In this one, we are talking about Mullen again. We've got some 10K filing stuff to talk about and some big news that's just kind of circulating Mullen, including Bollinger Motors. There's a lot to talk about on this company and some new things on their website. So if you do enjoy this type of content, all I ask is you subscribe to the channel and you turn on post notifications so you don't miss out on any of my future content. But let's go ahead and get straight into it. So right now, after hours and everything, Mullen is trading for 31 cents a share. The stock did perform pretty poorly yesterday. There's a lot of talk because the late 10K filing, things like that. And that's the main reason that Mullen fell. I don't think it's a massive concern, especially in the after hours. We did see a lot of downfall, but I don't think it's a long concern to worry about. But let's go ahead and kind of talk about what's going on with Mullen. So Mullen stock alert, what happens if Mullen misses its key January 13th deadline? A little bit of a note is they did file it after hours, but before 5:30 p.m., which was the time that they needed to put it in. But to give you some information, Mullen is classified as a non-accelerated filer. That means that it must submit a Form 10K 90 days after the end of its fiscal year at the latest, which fell on December 29th for the company. Mullen did fail to do so, resulting in the company filing a Form NT, a non-timely. That form gave Mullen a 15-day grace period, which that deadline, the latest deadline was January 13th, which was yesterday. And Mullen attributed its delayed Form 10K to needing to know more time to value warrants, which could have an impact on the consolidated result of operations, which is pretty big. So I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about this, some keynotes from this. Mullen still hasn't filed its Form 10K. Editor's note, Mullen filed its Form 10K after the market closed before 5:30 p.m. And another note is shares of Mullen Automotive stock closed in the red because the company still hasn't filed its Form 10K or annual report, remember, for the fiscal year ended September 30th. And to show you this, Bollinger Motors preps for key hires. The EV startup is getting serious about its commercial fleet ambitions. Social media lit up earlier today as users circulated job postings for Mullen acquired Bollinger Motors. Remember, Mullen has acquired them. So some key highlights from this. This is a lot, but it's important for you to know, especially if you are invested in Mullen. But the earliest posting was dated December 12th, and the newest one was manufacturing director. Hit the internet today of 19 positions available at Bollinger. That's a lot of positions right now, especially for this newer company, investing in administrative work and things like that. Bollinger posted 10 jobs just this week alone. Mullen notably acquired Bollinger to propel the company to medium-duty trucks, classes 3 through 6, along with the B1 and B2 sport utility trucks. So they have a ton of different jobs, pretty much main categories is engineering, technical, and management, looking for innovation leadership, and then for technical, experts like quality and fabricator technicians. And finally, the last one is a purchasing manager and a service manager, indicating confidence in a long-term viable enterprise. For good measure, Bollinger also wants to fill the investment director role, which has a primary goal of driving the capital raise process for upcoming fundraising rounds. Remember, it's very important for these newer companies to have money, especially like kind of in a saturated market per se. As one might say, everybody's getting into the EV market. And with this newer company, still relatively small, raising money successfully is going to be very big for them. So here's kind of a thing that I want to point out. A lot of bears are out there on Mullen. There's a reason that the short interest is so high. It's because of the bears. But I wanted to point this out, and I don't want you to take this as a negative sentiment or anything. I just think it's important for you to kind of understand both sides of the situation. But here's this. Mullen is a pre-revenue startup in a relatively young market. The company's liquidity is limited, and its timeline to deliver its first vehicles and generate revenues is quite far in the future. This means that its ability to stay afloat until it starts bringing money is questionable. So while the rewards for taking long odds wager can be astronomical, which is what a lot of us are here for, the consequences for failure are also devastating. With that in mind, investors should approach Mullen stock with extreme caution. So what they're saying is, Mullen does have a high execution risk, just in the sense that they kind of need to execute, get this funding correctly, not dilute shareholders at its extreme amount, and get this production started. And it needs to be successful for this company to get those astronomical returns to shareholders like you and I. But I want to look at the 10K, and I want you to remember this is for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2022. So it does not technically include that fourth quarter of 2022. So just to show you a few key things about how they're looking, net loss from operations was a lot, 96.9 million. Remember, this is a company worth 594 million right now. Been worth more, been worth less, but just want to give you that insight. Net loss total, though, was $740 million for the past year, which is a big loss, but it's something that you kind of have to consider, especially for this newer startup per se, as you might want to call it. And net loss per share was a little bit less just because there are more shares in the market, from $8.56 per share to $2.80 per share. There is still a lot considering the stock is only 31 cents right now. But I don't think this is a massive concern. Short term, yeah, maybe a lot of investors will sell out. It's just a part of the process. It's just the way that things go in the market. But long term, I do think that this is a very good thing. Looking a little bit more, we'll see this. I wanted to point out just kind of their shareholders' equity and things like this, but showing you a lot on their balance sheet. Sorry, I scrolled the wrong way. Here we go. Their total current liabilities aren't more than the current total liabilities, which is okay, but current total liabilities, their current liabilities is 122 million and their current assets is 86.3 million. So that's something to consider. I don't think it's necessarily a huge concern. It's not that far of a gap, but their total assets do outweigh their total liabilities, which does make it look a lot better. Assets have increased at incredible rates recently, so we're looking at some pretty good things. Now, to show you a little bit, I saw this on Twitter and I kind of wanted to point it out, but here are my thoughts on 200 pages of the 10K Mullen. Just to give you a few key highlights, like I said, the assets are way higher than the liabilities, 302 million compared to 145 million. And then I will actually just put this tweet in the description down below so you can go find it. But because it's very long, I don't want to read through all of this. It's a lot. But pretty much it's kind of saying, we know what we're in for. This is high risk, but it also is high reward. If Mullen can hit that execution consistently, things do have a positive outlook, and we're looking at some very good things. And the last thing I wanted to show you is Mullen's reserve page has recently changed. This is a very good, just like photo, it looks very professional, things like that. But looking at this, I wanted to also point out, when will I receive my Mullen 5 if you were to reserve it? In case you do not know, production validation is currently scheduled to begin in the fourth quarter of 2023. Once the 5 goes into full-scale production, you will be contacted by a Mullen representative with a more definite delivery date, currently estimated to be in the second quarter of 2024. So that's whenever we expect to see things like this come through. This is a long timeline, a long pipeline, but staying the path, being patient, this is a high risk, as everybody knows, but it also is a high reward if this can go through. One thing I wanted to point out in this kind of report on the tweet is, here we go. If you're not here for the long term, then this stock can be very stressful. Even as long-term holders, we may not make it. However, I put my money where I believe and things like that. And I wanted to show you, I need to find this. If you are invested in this company, you need to prepare yourself for a rough ride. However, if we make it to the end, we will be one of the biggest EV companies in the EV sector. That's basically what the first 50 pages of this 10K kind of talked about. And this is pretty big. I do think Mullen has that huge astronomical, sorry about all the stuttering happening right now, astronomical upside that is there as long as they can get through this done. But it is a thing about being patient because, they're not going to start selling cars necessarily tomorrow. This is a long outlook, so keep that in mind. But, the earlier you get in, potentially the higher the rewards as long as things kind of go in that consistent uptrend. But that is going to wrap it up for this video. So if you did enjoy it, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications so you don't miss out on any of my future content. Thank you again for making it to the end of this one. Check out the links down below. I'll have that tweet link down there. Also some free stocks like M1 Finance, Robinhood, Webull. Get your free stocks while you can and free money. And I will see you at the next video.